Hey lovebirds, welcome to our YouTube channel where heartwarming romantic stories come to life. Subscribe now to dive into tales of love, passion, and heartfelt moments. Hit that bell icon to never miss an upload. Join our community and let's fall in love with every story together. My name is Elena Thompson, and at 40, I thought I'd buried my heart alongside my husband Jack in that rain-soaked cemetery outside Seattle. 3 years ago, an icy road and a semi-truck stole him from me in an instant. A cruel twist of fate that left me hollow, navigating life like a ghost in our empty home. I'd thrown myself into my job at the marketing firm, climbing the ranks with a quiet determination that masked the ache inside. So when the email arrived announcing I'd won the Employee Excellence Award, a luxurious 10-day cruise through the Alaskan fjords, I felt a flicker of something almost like hope. But there was a catch, buried in the fine print. The prize was for two, designed as a romantic getaway, and it required a male companion. No singles allowed. It was meant to foster connections, they said. Panic set in. My social circle had shrunk to coffee chats with colleagues and obligatory family dinners. Dating? The thought made my stomach churn. Jack had been my everything, my college sweetheart, my rock through infertility struggles and career highs. How could I replace that? Desperation led me to my nephew, Kevin. At 23, he was fresh out of grad school, job hunting in Portland, with that boyish charm and easy laugh that reminded me of his late uncle. He was family, safe, uncomplicated. Aunt Elena, are you serious? A cruise? Hell yeah, I'll be your +1, he'd said over the phone, his voice laced with excitement. I laughed it off as an adventure, ignoring the subtle warnings in my gut. Boarding the ship in Vancouver, the air hummed with anticipation. Couples strolled hand in hand, laughter echoing off the polished decks as the vessel cut through misty waters. But when we reached our stateroom, my world tilted. One king-sized bed dominated the space, draped in silk sheets that whispered secrets. Must be a mix-up, I murmured, heat rising to my cheeks. Kevin's eyes widened, but he shrugged it off with a grin. No big deal, Aunt Elena. We're family. I'll take the couch. Yet as the door clicked shut, sealing us in that intimate cocoon, a strange electricity crackled in the air, a forbidden spark I couldn't name. That first night, as the ship rocked gently and stars pierced the velvet sky, we talked like we never had before. Stories poured out, my hidden dreams of writing poetry, his fears of never measuring up to his father's expectations. Laughter turned to whispers, whispers to lingering gazes. His hand brushed mine accidentally, or was it? Sending a shiver down my spine, awakening parts of me I'd long forgotten. What was this pull? This magnetic force drawing us closer in the dim light. My heart raced with a mix of guilt and exhilaration, shadows of taboo dancing at the edges of my mind. As dawn crept in, I lay awake, wondering if this cruise was unraveling me, or revealing something destined to change everything. And oh, the days ahead promised revelations I couldn't foresee, moments that would blur lines, ignite passions, and force me to confront a love that society might condemn. What secrets would the sea whisper next? Would our bond shatter like glass or forge something unbreakable in the fire of the unknown? The cruise liner, the Aurora Breeze, glided out of port like a dream woven from steel and seafoam, its horns blaring a farewell that echoed my own internal turmoil. I stood at the railing with Kevin by my side, the wind whipping through my hair, carrying the salty promise of adventure. He looked so young, so vibrant in his casual jeans and hoodie, his dark hair tousled by the breeze. This is incredible, Aunt Elena, he said, his blue eyes sparkling as he snapped photos of the receding coastline. I smiled, but inside, doubts gnawed at me. What had I been thinking, bringing him here? He was my sister's son, for God's sake. The boy I'd babysat during summers in the Pacific Northwest, teaching him to skip stones on Puget Sound. Yet here we were thrust into this floating world of opulence, where champagne flowed freely, and every corner seemed designed for stolen glances and whispered confidences. Our stateroom became our unintended sanctuary and battleground, The mix-up wasn't resolved, the ship was fully booked, they apologized profusely, offering extra amenities as compensation. So we adapted, or tried to. Kevin insisted on the pull-out sofa, but its lumpy cushions left him tossing and turning, his silhouette visible in the moonlight filtering through the balcony doors. I'd lie there, listening to his breathing, a rhythm that synced with the ocean's swell, stirring memories of Jack's warmth beside me. But this was different, charged, alive in a way that made my pulse quicken. During the day, we'd explore the ship, lounging by the infinity pool, where couples dipped into azure waters, their laughter a soundtrack to our awkward silences. Kevin would tease me about my sunscreen obsession, smearing it on my shoulders with gentle hands that lingered just a second too long, sending ripples through me like waves lapping at hidden shores. Evenings brought formal dinners in the grand ballroom, crystal chandeliers casting a golden glow over tables set with fine china. We were seated with other pairs, honeymooners from New York, retirees from California, all sharing stories of love and loss. "How long have you two been together?" a silver-haired woman asked one night, her eyes twinkling. I choked on my wine, but Kevin jumped in smoothly. "Oh, we're just starting out. Family friends, you could say." His foot nudged mine under the table, a playful secret that made my cheeks flush. As the band played soft jazz, he asked me to dance. My hand in his felt electric, our bodies moving in sync, the space between us shrinking with each step. "You're beautiful, Aunt Elena," he whispered, his breath warm against my ear. I pulled back slightly, heart hammering, but his gaze held mine, intense, searching, as if peeling back layers I'd kept hidden. The mystery deepened on our third day, during a shore excursion to a misty Alaskan glacier. We hiked trails lined with evergreens, the air crisp and alive with the crackle of ice calving into turquoise bays. Kevin helped me over rocky paths, his grip firm and reassuring. At a secluded viewpoint away from the group, we sat on a fallen log, sharing a thermos of hot cocoa. "Tell me about Uncle Jack," he said softly. I hesitated, then opened up. About our whirlwind romance in college, the road trips along the Oregon coast, the quiet nights dreaming of a family that never came. Tears welled up, and he wiped them away with his thumb, a gesture so tender it blurred the lines of kinship. "You've been through so much," he murmured. "You deserve happiness." In that moment, as eagles soared overhead, something shifted, a forbidden bloom unfurling in my chest, sweet and terrifying. Back on the ship, the tension built like a gathering storm. We'd watch sunsets from our balcony, glasses of Merlot in hand, conversations drifting from lighthearted banter to deeper confessions. He spoke of his ex-girlfriend, a fleeting college fling that left him wary of commitment. I shared my loneliness, the way nights stretched endlessly without Jack's presence. One evening, as rain pattered against the glass, he played his guitar, a soft melody that wrapped around us like an embrace. Our eyes met and time suspended. He set the instrument aside, leaning closer. His fingers traced my arm, igniting sparks that danced along my skin, awakening a hunger I'd suppressed for years. We didn't speak of it, but the air thickened with unspoken desires, a mystery unfolding petal by petal. By mid-cruise, whispers of romance threaded through our days. A couple's massage in the spa, where essential oils and skilled hands relaxed our bodies, but his proximity in the dim room stirred a deeper unrest. A midnight stroll on the deck, stars blanketing the sky, where he draped his jacket over my shoulders against the chill. "I feel like I've known you forever, but in a new way," he confessed, his voice low. Guilt clawed at me. What would my sister think? Society? Yet the pull was undeniable, a gravitational force drawing us into uncharted waters. As the ship sailed toward hidden coves, I sensed the story was far from over, secrets waiting to surface like treasures from the deep. What would happen when the masks fell away? The aurora breeze carved through the icy waters of the inside passage. its boo slicing the silence of dawn as I stood on our balcony, clutching a steaming mug of coffee. Day 6 of the cruise, and the Alaskan fjords stretched before us, rugged cliffs cloaked in mist, their peaks kissing the clouds. Inside me, a storm brewed fiercer than the sea. Kevin slept inside, sprawled across the pull-out sofa, his chest rising and falling in the soft light. I should have felt maternal, protective, but instead, my eyes traced the lines of his jaw, the curve of his shoulder, and my heart stuttered with a longing I couldn't name. What was happening to me? I was Elena Thompson, the dependable aunt, the grieving widow. Yet this ship, this room, this boy, was rewriting my story into something dangerous, intoxicating. Days bled into each other, each moment laced with a quiet intensity that grew harder to ignore. We'd laugh over breakfast in the ship's cafe, sharing pancakes drizzled with maple syrup, his foot brushing mine under the table, a fleeting touch that sent heat curling through me. On a kayaking excursion in Juneau, we paddled in tandem, our strokes synchronized as we glided past seals lounging on icebergs. "You're stronger than you look, Aunt Elena," he teased, splashing me with icy water. I laughed, retaliating, but when our eyes locked, the playfulness shifted. A current of something unspoken passed between us, like a secret whispered in the wind. Back on board, we'd linger in the hot tub, steam rising around us, his arm brushing mine as we watched the horizon. Each touch, each glance, felt like a step toward a precipice I wasn't sure I could resist. One night, the ship hosted a masquerade ball, and the ballroom transformed into a dreamscape of velvet masks and glittering gowns. I wore a sapphire dress that hugged my curves, a choice I'd second-guessed until Kevin's eyes widened when he saw me. "Wow," he breathed, adjusting his black mask, looking every bit the rogue in his tailored suit. We danced under chandeliers, his hand firm on my waist, guiding me through a waltz. The world blurred, other couples, the music, the clink of glasses, until it was just us, swaying in a cocoon of rhythm and warmth. "You make this feel different," he murmured, his lips close to my ear, his voice a velvet caress. My breath hitched and I pulled back slightly, searching his eyes through the mask. What did he mean? Was he feeling this too? This forbidden pull that defied reason? Later, on our balcony, the masks came off, but the air stayed charged. The northern lights painted the sky in ribbons of green and purple, a spectacle that felt like it was just for us. We sat close, wrapped in a shared blanket, the chill of the night no match for the heat between us. "Elena?" he said, dropping the aunt for the first time, his voice raw. "I don't know what this is, but I can't stop thinking about you." My heart stopped, then raced. I wanted to protest, to remind him of boundaries, of family, but his hand found mine, fingers intertwining, and the world tilted. His touch was a spark, igniting a fire I'd thought long extinguished. "Kevin, we can't," I whispered, but my voice trembled, betraying me. He leaned closer, his breath warm against my cheek, and for a moment I thought he'd kiss me. Instead, he pulled back, eyes tormented. "I know," he said. "But what if we're meant to?" Sleep eluded me that night. I lay staring at the ceiling, guilt and desire warring within me. Jack's memory haunted me, his laugh, his steady hands, but Kevin was here, alive, awakening parts of me I'd buried. The next morning, at a cooking class on board, we stood side by side, chopping herbs, our shoulders brushing. The instructor droned on about Alaskan salmon, but all I could feel was Kevin's presence, a magnetic force pulling me closer. When our hands touched, reaching for a knife, he didn't pull away, and neither did I. The room faded, and I saw only him, his steady gaze, his unspoken question. What were we becoming? By the 8th day, the tension was a living thing, coiling tighter with every shared moment. We explored Ketchikan together, wandering through totem pole parks, our hands brushing as we pointed at carvings. At a quiet cafe over steaming clam chowder, he told me about his dreams, traveling the world, writing music, living unapologetically. "You make me want to be braver," he said, his eyes locked on mine. I wanted to confess everything, how he made me feel alive, how he scared me, how I feared judgment but craved his closeness. Instead, I smiled, deflecting with a joke, but my heart screamed for more. That night, a storm hit, rocking the ship. We stayed in our room, the world outside a chaos of wind and waves. Kevin played his guitar, a haunting melody that mirrored the tempest within me. When he set it down, he moved closer, his hand cupping my cheek. "Elena, tell me to stop," he whispered, his eyes searching mine. I couldn't. The air crackled, and as the ship swayed, so did my resolve. What would happen if we crossed that line? Would the sea swallow our secrets, or would they rise to haunt us? As the storm raged outside our stateroom window, waves crashing against the hull like accusations from the deep, I felt the weight of Kevin's gaze pulling me under. Day 9 dawned with a deceptive calm, the aurora breeze emerging from the tempest into glassy waters. But inside me, the turmoil had only intensified. Lightning had struck in that charged moment the night before, his hand on my cheek, our breaths mingling like forbidden incense. And though we hadn't crossed the final threshold, the air hummed with the echo of what could be. I rose early, slipping out to the deck where the first light painted the fjords in hues of rose and gold, trying to outrun the confusion swirling in my chest. Was this love? Or merely the ship's spell weaving illusions from loneliness and proximity? Kevin found me there, his hair tousled from sleep, a soft smile breaking through the shadows under his eyes. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked, leaning on the railing beside me. We watched orcas breach in the distance, their sleek forms cutting through the sea like arrows of fate. Our conversation flowed easily at first, about the wildlife, the crisp air, but soon deepened, as it always did now. He confessed his restlessness, how the cruise had upended his world, making him question everything he'd thought he knew about family, about desire. "Elena, you're not just my aunt anymore," he said quietly, his voice a gentle tide lapping at my defenses. "You've become everything." My heart clenched, a bloom of warmth spreading through me despite the chill. I wanted to push him away, to cling to the safety of titles and bloodlines, but his sincerity was a lighthouse in my fog of doubt. We spent the morning in Skagway, a quaint gold rush town frozen in time, wandering cobbled streets lined with saloons and souvenir shops. He bought me a delicate necklace, a silver pendant shaped like a glacier, cool against my skin when he fastened it around my neck. His fingers grazed my nape, sending shivers cascading like melting ice down my spine. "To remember this," he murmured, his eyes holding mine with an intensity that made the world fade. We hiked a nearby trail, the path winding through dense forest where sunlight filtered through leaves like scattered diamonds. At a hidden waterfall, we paused, the roar drowning out everything but our pounding hearts. There, away from prying eyes, he took my hand, pulling me close. "What if we let go?" he whispered, his forehead resting against mine. The mist enveloped us, a veil of possibility, and in that embrace, I felt barriers crumble. Years of grief dissolving into something pure, electric. Back on the ship, the final evening loomed like a bittersweet crescendo. The captain's gala dinner unfolded in splendor, tables groaning under lobster and caviar, string quartets serenading the night. We sat side by side, our legs brushing under the tablecloth, each touch a silent promise. As dessert arrived, rich chocolate that melted on the tongue like unspoken confessions, Kevin leaned in. "Dance with me one last time?" The floor cleared and we moved together, bodies aligning in a rhythm that spoke volumes. His hand on my back guided me, warm and sure, evoking a dance of stars within me. Whispers from other guests floated by, envy perhaps at our evident connection. But I no longer cared. The mystery that had begun as a hesitant spark had evolved into a flame, illuminating truths I'd hidden even from myself. Afterward, on our balcony under a canopy of stars, the ship slicing toward home, we finally surrendered to the pull. Words gave way to gestures, his arms encircling me, my head on his shoulder, the ocean's lullaby syncing with our breaths. It was a merging of souls, like rivers joining the sea, gentle yet profound, where boundaries blurred in waves of tenderness. No regrets tainted the moment. Instead, a profound peace settled, as if the universe had conspired this voyage to heal us both. Guilt lingered at the edges, a shadow of societal norms, but love's light outshone it. "We'll figure it out," he promised, his voice a anchor in the night. Together. As the cruise ended the next morning, docking in Vancouver with horns blaring triumph, I stepped off the ship hand in hand with Kevin, no longer aunt and nephew, but partners in a romance born from the deep. The world awaited with its judgments, but our bond, forged in the fjords' mystery, felt unbreakable, a love story whispered by the winds, eternal as the tides. And in that new beginning, I found not just passion, but the voyage home from Vancouver felt like waking from a dream, the real world rushing back with its demands and realities. Kevin and I drove south along the coast, the highway winding through evergreen forests that mirrored the Alaskan wilds we'd left behind. My hands gripped the wheel, but his rested on my knee, a silent reassurance amid the uncertainty. "What now?" I asked, voicing the question that had hovered since we disembarked. He smiled, that boyish grin that had first melted my reservations. "We take it one day at a time, Elena, no rush." But inside, fears churned. My sister, his mother, would she understand? Society's whispers, the age gap, the family ties. Could our love withstand the scrutiny? We stopped in Portland first, at his apartment, a cozy loft filled with guitars and books. There, in the quiet of his space, we explored the depths of our connection further, like cartographers mapping uncharted lands. Gentle touches evolved into lingering embraces, each one an affirmation of the bond forged at sea. I called my sister that evening, heart pounding. "There's something I need to tell you," I began, words tumbling out in a rush. Shock, then tears, then tentative acceptance. She loved us both, after all. "Be happy," she said finally. "Life's too short." Relief washed over me like a warm wave, but challenges lingered. Back in Seattle, I returned to work, the award plaque on my desk a reminder of how this all began. Colleagues noticed the change, the glow in my cheeks, the spring in my step. "The cruise did you good," my boss remarked. If only she knew. Kevin moved in gradually, his things mingling with mine and Jack's fading echoes. Nights were filled with shared dinners, walks along the waterfront where ferries cut through the sound, our hands intertwined. He encouraged my poetry, reading drafts aloud in his melodic voice, inspiring verses about rediscovered hearts and second chances. In turn, I supported his music, attending open mics where he'd dedicate songs to the woman who changed everything. But romance isn't without storms. Whispers reached us. Family gatherings grew awkward at first. Friends raised eyebrows. One evening, over wine on our balcony overlooking the city lights, doubt crept in. "Are we fooling ourselves?" I asked, tears stinging. Kevin pulled me close, his embrace a harbor. "Love like this doesn't come easy, but it's real. We're not defined by labels." His words anchored me, and in that vulnerability, our connection deepened, like roots intertwining beneath the soil. Months turned to a year, our story unfolding in quiet milestones. A weekend getaway to the Oregon dunes, where we built sandcastles like children, laughing off the wind, adopting a rescue dog, a fluffy mutt named Fjord who bounded between us with joyful energy. Kevin landed a job in graphic design, his creativity blooming, while I pursued a side hustle in writing workshops. Our love was a gentle flame, romantic in its everyday magic. Morning coffees shared in bed, stolen kisses in the kitchen, evenings curled up with books and dreams. Looking back, that cruise wasn't just a trip. It was destiny's detour, leading me from widowhood's shadows to a vibrant dawn. Kevin and I, once bound by family, now by choice, proved love defies conventions. In his arms, I found not replacement for Jack, but a new chapter, tender, passionate, eternal. And as we planned our future, perhaps a quiet commitment ceremony on a beach at sunset, I knew the mystery had resolved into something beautiful, a romance that endured, whispering promises of forever.